Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me, and guys, I got to tell you, we are now at a record here on the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast, because now Alex Aanderud is appearing for the third time on the show, which makes him the record holder for the guest with most appearances on the show ever. So we're going to make sure we link the first two episodes so you guys can go listen to that, because if you don't know who this is, you should. There's a reason why I keep bringing Alex back, and that's because he's one of my mentors. I literally met Alex because of BNI. I know you're shocked that I met someone through BNI. And I met him the day after I became an official certified coach. And so he and I became very fast friends, and we have been working together in a variety of ways ever since 2017. And so I brought him back because he has the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I had to share it with you guys. So his history is he's a Boeing engineer. He got in trouble because he wasn't being very personable. And so they had him go learn how to be a person, and he learned how to be a person. And now he's teaching other people how to people and communicate. And that's just the bare bones. You want the real intro? Go listen to the first episode, hear all about his history. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennie. I appreciate it. Peopling is so important, and learning how to people it's a vital skill. It's a life skill.
Right. It really is. And, I love your background story with that, because if people are not familiar, or if they don't know any engineers are really good with numbers and science and math, and not always with the people part. Right. I mean, that's my experience.
It's more than just the engineering piece. I had a chip on my shoulder. I had an ego the size of Texas, and I was taught by my family there's no such thing as a hierarchy. That means something. And so for me, when I grew up in the Masonic world, where there's this huge hierarchy where everyone's supposed to be. It's oh, the most worshipful Grand Master, thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege. I'm hey, Dad, what's up? It didn't matter. I was Alex. That was the exception to the rule. And so I learned that. But I also learned you can tell anyone to go to hell as long as you make them look forward to the trip. And then I learned it didn't matter if you made them look forward to the trip. Fuck it. No, it's
you can curse on my show.
Perfect. I'm fuck it. I don't need to make them look forward to the trip. I'll just tell them to go to hell. So I did. And I got really good at telling people exactly what I thought and how I felt. Unfortunately, people didn't like the trip. They weren't really happy with it, and I didn't know how to frame it in a way that they could receive it. So instead of saying, hey, I appreciate the effort that you put in, and I can see that you're really trying, and I know you care a lot about this project, and there's a few things that I'd like to change about your approach, starting with everything that you've done. But other than that, you really are doing a great job. Versus it sucked. Pull your head out of your ass and try it again. It's
yeah.
It's shorter, it's quicker, but I didn't get quicker results. And I found that by adapting my communication and adapting the way that I worked with people, it's oh my God, it's so much work. I have a lot of leaders. Oh my God, it's so much work. I'm right, but I no longer have to fight them to do it. I give an extra 30 seconds of little blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden they're oh, and then they go do what I want them to do. It works out great.
Right. And it really comes down to, and this is what you and I, what you've taught me in the world of starting in the world of DISC, right? Is it comes to those behavioral styles, right? And understanding, where people are coming from in that moment. Because of course, this is what I think is really fun is when I ask people, oh, if they're familiar with DISC, they're oh yeah, I took one of those tests. I'm when?
15 years ago on a Thursday. Oh, they're not
Mhm.
Jennie. They don't remember which day of the week it is. That's a Jennie skill.
Yeah, that's a Jennie skill. But they they remember that they took it a number of years ago, and they're certain that those results are still true. And it's funny, the number of people, if once I've been interacting with them enough, I go, yeah, no, the results you got that you're telling me you got, you're not that person anymore. You need to take this again. Right?
DISC measures behavior. It looks at behavioral tendencies across 4 spectrums. And when you understand DISC, it's like there's so many people. When I became certified in DISC, I started studying DISC, and everyone's like, okay. So I started having these conversations, and I ask questions. I talk to the experts. I'm like, help me understand. DISC is fixed. They're like, yeah. I'm like, DISC measures behavior. They're like, yes. I'm like, behavior changes. They're like, yes. I'm like, how does something that measures a movable thing not move?
Mm-hmm.
And they do this like deer, huh?
Yeah, the little
that
puppy
dog head tilt.
Yeah, the puppy head tilt thing.
And I'm like, how has nobody in since 1920 asked these questions? Why is this a new thing? Like, this is a new concept. The DISC is malleable. And I started, telling everyone, okay, DISC isn't fixed. And everyone's like, oh, the high D, they're the best, and the low Ds can't make a decision to save their ass. I go, no, the low D wants time and information to make sure they're making the right decision. If you give them time and information, or you install it linguistically, they can make decisions pretty quickly. But the moment you stop forcing them, they're going to dig their heels in, and then they won't make a decision, not because they can't, but because you're a jerk.
Yep.
And it's like people are, oh, high Ds are good, low Ds are bad. I'm like, high Ds don't finish anything. They get 90% of the way, and the reason why they don't finish is because if they did, they'd have to stop, and they don't want to stop moving. So they get to 90% and then do something else.
Oh my God, that explains so much. Shit. One would think I would know this.
It's so much ideas. Every time I say it, they're like, that's not, oh shit, it is true. Yep, it is.
We want the results and we want them fast, but yeah, we got to keep moving for sure. And it's been
the results. We got to keep moving.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing too, because I regularly will show people my results if they don't believe me that DISC changes. Because the very first time I ever took my version of, your version of DISC, the assessment that you have, which I adore. I really do love it. When I took it, it was June of 2020. So we were in the middle of the pandemic. Like literally everyone had been stuck in their homes for 3 months. And I had been spending 3 months helping people figure out how to survive. So my D was non-existent. Compared to what it is now. Like if you look at my report, it was like, I think a 57, right? But my S was a 77. Like insane, like, which is insanely high for me. I love people. Yes. Don't get me wrong. I do love people, but I can't move that slow. But I really had to slow down during that time because of what was going on in the world. So I changed my behavior. This is just proof, everybody. Changed my behavior based on what was going on around me, but based on what my clients were needing, what my referral partners in BNI were needing. Everything shifted. And then I remember the next time, not the next time, but a couple times later, because now I take it about every 6 months or so. And the very first time I took it and my D popped up to a 99, which is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that's as high as it goes. When my D hit a 99, my first thing, I literally texted Alex and went, what the f is wrong with me? I all of a sudden hit a 99.
And I said, welcome, my friend.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fascinating to see how things shift and move, and especially how it means I interact with other people. And I'm very intentional in watching how I interact with people and how I'm talking with people. And I even have started noticing that when I'm around people, even if I don't know, like if I haven't like consciously said in my head, oh, I think this person is an S, or I think this person is a C, I know that they must be one, because at some point I'll figure out that the pace of my voice has slowed down. And like everything is slower and I'm taking my time with them. And I'm like, oh, my brain figured out they must be an S or a C because I'm not talking as fast as I normally do. But I don't always do it consciously. Like, it's not like I'm sitting here intentionally going, okay, I need to slow things down, or I need to stay at my fast pace, or I need, whatever. It just,
No,
I
you
tend to
initially start
mirror.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
You start that way. What happens is when you learn to be able to adjust on the fly, then you go, okay, so they are this. How do I need to adjust? And you do it a few times, and eventually you stop reading and you stop adjusting. It just happens. But first, you have to become aware. First, you have to understand the basics of the disc, the simplified version. And so, actually, let's just go ahead and do this. So, if you guys are listening, get a pen and paper. If you don't have a pen and paper, you should always have a pen and paper, and especially when you're listening to a podcast. That's important, or at least some way to remember. Anyway, so DISC. You write down DISC. D is how people tend to want to move forward. Operates on a spectrum. I'm teaching you a cheat. This is not the official. This is not what they teach you in class. This is mine. Write this down. High D wants to keep moving forward. Low D wants to move forward intentionally, and people operate along the spectrum. So when you're talking with someone, do they keep moving the conversation forward, or do they want to be intentional with how they move it forward? Do they want to keep knowing what are the next steps and where are we going and what's going on? What's going on and how do we keep this moving? Do they have the conversation? Do they allow breaks, or do they want it to keep going? Are they pushing you for the next action? High D, they want it to keep moving. Low D, they want to be intentional. If someone wants to be intentional and you push them, they dig their heels in. You got to give them the space to be in control, because what they're looking for is they don't want to make a mistake, and they want the power and control to make the decision that's right for them. High D, low D operates in a spectrum between intentionally moving forward or just moving. I want to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
So, difference. High I is looking for a volley. They're looking for a back and forth. So they're looking for, so I just said that and Jennie nodded her head.
Yeah.
That's a volley. That's a back and forth. I say something, you respond. I say something, you respond. Yep, it's a back and forth. It indicates the I category. I. Low I tends to be more introspective. They need time to contemplate what you've said, and they will abstract that information on application. They'll look for different ways that it applies. They'll go internal. If you don't give them a pause, any chance to think about what I just said, they shut down. Little pauses here and there allow them to be able to do that. So people look at a high I, and it's they're outgoing, gregarious. They love talking to people. It's like they like the energy they get because they get it back and forth. High I, outgoing, gregarious is a side effect. ID, they're decisive, aggressive. They love making decisions. No, they like to keep moving forward. As a side effect, if I want to keep moving forward, I have to be quick in making decisions, because if I don't make a decision quickly, I'm stuck. If I don't get aggressive, people get in my way and roadblocks piss me off. I'm stuck. So if you think about it, high D and high I, if you just look at this spectrum as opposed to thinking about all the things you need to know about D, if you want to be able to understand them, just simply look real quick. What are they? Same thing. S. S is actually range of expression. High S is bringing in the barriers. It's narrower range. Their high is here. Their low is here, much narrower. You can't see my hands. Much higher here, much lower here. So you bring it in. So I'm really excited to be meeting with you today. Like, could you show it? I'm like, I am. This is my excitement. But then a low S has a much broader range of expression. And so they get excited and they're over here and they're here and they're animated. And so people mistake. It's like they're spontaneous. They want to move all the time. No, their range is much wider. Their movements are much wider. Their vocal tonality range is much wider. Their emotional expression is much wider. It doesn't mean that they don't exhibit it, the high S's. It means it's internal and their expression is much narrower. So they could be as motivated as someone going, oh my God, this is amazing. They could go, this is really cool. But that could be a 10 for them. That could be their 10. So understanding the range changes high S, low S. And C, everyone thinks C is about rules and procedures. It's not. They don't freaking care about them. Everyone says that's what they are. High C wants a quality, predictable outcome. They want to know the outcome before they begin. They like procedures because if they can't get their outcome, they can figure out why. They want to know what the outcome is before they start. So if you're talking with someone and we don't know what's going to happen, and here's the thing, we're either going to get the house or we're going to meet on Tuesday and discuss our next steps. You've given them a thing. Even though you don't know the answer, you now have predictable outcomes on both sides. So here's the thing. You're going to join this business. And when you're going to sit down and you're going to do what I'm going to say, and if you do what I instruct you to do, you will be successful, or you will not do what I tell you to do and you won't be successful. And if you're not successful, I'll sit down with you and we'll do some course correction. So either way, you have a high probability of success if you work with me. I've just helped that unsure what's the outcome going to be. I've given you 2 predictable outcomes. Low C wants to know that we're going to get there no matter what. People mistake this for a high D trait. It's not. Typically, you have a high D and a low C together. A low C is over, around, under, or through. High D is, fuck it, let's hit the wall. A high D doesn't care about hitting the wall. The low C doesn't like walls because it slows us down. We want to get around it. We want to go under it. The high D goes, we'll bounce off it and we'll go a different direction. It'll be fine. Point off.
Oh my God. I do both of those things because I am a high D and a low C.
High D and a low C. Low C is over, around, under, or through. I want to know that you, as my leader, are not going to allow an obstacle to get in my way. That's it. Really easy. So I've got a class that I teach. It's on how to cold read the DISC assessment. It's a 3-hour class on conversationally eliciting someone's DISC profile and then using it in sales. And in that, this is basically, if you don't want to buy the class, just listen to this and go back and listen to this 5 times. This is what I teach, except to go a little bit deeper. But this right here is how you cold read the DISC. These 4 spectrums and quickly analyze. If I'm talking with someone and they want the conversation to keep moving forward, they're nodding, they're very expressive, and they want to know that nothing's going to stop us, they are a high D, high I, low S, low C. If there's somebody who wants to know, okay, so I want to make sure we're doing the right thing before we take another step, let's slow down a little bit and make sure, because I want to know what the outcome is. I want to know that how we're going to get there. They're a low D, high C personality type. They literally are saying, I want to be intentional with how I move forward, and what is the outcome going to be? I need to know that before I move. Low D, high C.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I want to make sure that we're moving forward intentionally. Everything that we do, I want to know what my next step is, and I want to do that based upon what's the right next step. And I want to know that no matter what comes up, we're going to get there. So if something comes up, I want to know that we have a plan in place to be able to mitigate it so that we can keep moving forward. Does that make sense? Okay, you're a low D, low C personality type because you want to be intentional moving forward and you want to make sure that no matter what, we get there, which means you're not going to follow process and you're not going to do what I tell you to do. And you're not going to be very decisive. So that means I need to persuade you through communication of your I or your S in order to navigate it. Lots of course correction. That's how I'm going to have to lead you. Really simple adaptations, but you can do that conversationally, which is pretty cool.
That is fascinating. Yeah. And y'all, I've been training with Alex for a long time. And some of this is new aha moments for me because we don't always get into these things because he's like, oh, you're so good at this. You automatically know it. And I'm like, no, not always.
I think Jenny's God. She knows everything. It's okay. I'm like, God was making an appointment with her and she had to reschedule because she was busy. So, it's like, God, I'll get back to you on Tuesday. I've got to take care of my clients first.
I got a thing. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. No, but I think this is really important in direct sales and network marketing because you really did bring it around in that last piece there, which was, this understanding of other people and how they operate, because I have a feeling that there were some people when they were listening to this, they heard either themselves or some of their team members and they went, oh, that's why I haven't been able to get so-and-so to do X, Y, or Z, or why they haven't done X, Y, or Z, regardless of what I've been doing, because there's something about them that I was not aware of. Right. So
I'd like to talk bluntly to your leaders for just a moment.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Okay. Leaders, people who are leading direct sales teams, your team does not suck. You suck as a leader. If you ever believe that your team sucks, develop your leadership skills and your ability to adapt because your team doesn't suck. You have an inflexibility in your leadership style that is preventing them from achieving success their way because you want them to achieve success your way. If you can get out of your own way and learn to adapt, your team can thrive. There is nobody who cannot be successful in network marketing. The challenge is that even the network marketing trainings are set up for specific personality types. And then we try and force people to fit into that mold because we've modeled the people who were most successful because a natural personality type that's successful matches this, right? But if that's not them, let them do it a different way. But you got to learn how that is for them to be successful. So example of this, an example of this is I have somebody who was a low I personality. They didn't like talking to people. They were very much motivated by utility and efficiency. They wanted to know what's in it for me. They didn't care about people. They didn't like helping people. They really didn't like people. And everyone said they couldn't be successful in sales. And so what I did was I taught them to ask questions. Instead of talking to people, they asked questions and they learned to listen. I taught them what to listen for and how to use guided questions to help their clients figure out their own answers. Then I had them say, the number one thing I care about is the referral, which means I'm going to take better care of you than all the other people out there who are lying to you and telling you it's about that you do. Because it's not. It's about my finances. But because of that, I'll take better care of you than everyone else. All of a sudden, they became very successful in sales. They also got a lot more clients, and they got people who went, I want to follow you. They're like, why the hell would you want to follow me? I hate people. Like, I know, but you did it so nicely. All I did was I took their personality and constructed an environment in which all they had to do was be themselves, and they could thrive. And all of a sudden, they became one of the top salespeople on their team. It was that simple. But they failed out of 3 different organizations before I was able to show them how to be successful. It's leaders. It's not your people, it's you.
Yes. Now, let me tell you. So I don't know if you heard my episode with Shiraz Babu, but when he's an energetic worker, and I met him in January on the Marketers Cruise. And through working with him and having some conversations with him and seeing him do his thing, when I interviewed him on my show, all of a sudden I realized I can sometimes feel when I really open up. And today I made sure that I meditated and opened myself up for today's episode. And when you said that piece, when you were talking directly to the leaders, there were 3 different points at which people had aha, oh, fuck moments. 3 points in that conversation. So here's what I want you guys to do. Go back, rewind this about 3 minutes back, 5 minutes back, and listen to that part again, because you probably need to hear it not just once, but 2, 3, 4 times to pick up on all the little things, because there were some people who had a gut reaction of your team doesn't suck, you suck. And they went, you have to keep in mind.
You don't have to suck. You can be better. It's okay.
You can be better, right? The good news in that is that the only way to grow is up, right?
No, you can grow down. It's possible. It's the roots setting a solid foundation.
Yeah, in theory, yeah. But for the most part, I mean, this really comes down to, because I think it's super important that people understand that we attract people who are very similar to the way we are, but we also attract people who aspire to be like us. And
Yes.
This took me working with you for a very long time before I figured out, oh, I'm a high I, high D. I get shit done and I move. And a lot of S's and C's see that and they're like, I want to do that, but they don't want to do that. But they want to do it, but they don't want to do it. Right? Like it's right, this, I want to be like you, Jennie. And then they don't do it. Because I was talking to them like an ID.
Harsher. Right. I'm a lot harsher on leaders when I'm on a podcast. When I'm talking one-on-one, it's a very different conversation.
Yes.
But the challenge is that there are so many leaders who want to put the responsibility onto the people that are following them. My people are the problem. How do I get my people to change? What is it that I need to do in order to help them be more successful? But it's always externalized. The problem is that shifts the power dynamic into your people having power over you, as opposed to you having influence over your people. When you are willing to adapt and change, it's not about control. You can't control anyone, but you can influence them. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. If you don't learn to adapt, their rigidity becomes control over you and your success, and you give up your power. And I think that everybody should take responsibility for their own life, be able to know who they are, and align everything they have to be themselves, because if they can, they're the greatest impact they have on the whole system. And second, leaders need to learn to adapt to help other people do that, because they're not going to do it easily. They're going to need help. And so you got to learn to lead yourself, create a space for you to authentically be, and then learn to adapt so that your people can authentically be them. And that's what a leader is, internal and external.
Oh my gosh. So true. So for years, I've offered an opportunity for people to do disc, but you've taken it to the next step now. And that's why I invited you back on the show, is because we're not just talking disc, but you now have created an assessment that brings together a complete look at a human being. Yes?
Yes. The DISC is an incredibly useful starter point. It is 4 spectrums, DISC, and I've talked about it. There's a class, had a cold read, 5 minutes. You can know everything you need to know about the DISC. It's really not that complicated. It's effective, it's efficient, and it's a good place to start. But the challenge is that behavior is molded through a person's experiences. But why do they behave that way? What drives them? Why do they think that way? What are the actions? What is their natural tendencies as far as the internal emotional response versus how they choose to behave, which is very different because how you feel isn't necessarily how you behave. And if you don't understand the feelings, you can't drive action. Because people don't operate out of logic. They operate out of emotional response 90% of the time.
So how do they know those things?
Yeah. So I created the Vital Spark assessment because for starters, when I read somebody, Jennie, you and I've talked a lot. I've gone out, I've done cold reading, I've been at parties. I was like, you get some gag gift. Hey, look, who is this person? I'm like, oh yeah, when they were 14, they're like, how the hell did you do that? I'm gifted. It's what I do. So I have an ability to read people.
I got to ask you a question because I got a text message from somebody a couple weekends ago. Did you do your cold read at the wedding in Kansas City?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yes,
okay.
I did.
Because one of my friends messaged me and she goes, your friend, what was it? The mind fucker from Phoenix told me to message you. And I was like, how'd you meet Alex?
Because I was the man of honor. My friend Sarah was getting married and she asked me to be the man of honor. And so I got to be there for her wedding and it was such a pleasure and such a treat. She and her husband, Rafi, are just an amazing couple. It was so cool. Picturesque, model-esque wedding. It was just gorgeous. It was amazing.
That's awesome. And you did a little of your thing in reading people.
I always do because people ask me to. They're like, oh, because once they know it, they're like, oh, tell me what you see. I'm like, you don't want me to do that. They're like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay. And they're like, stop. Like, okay. too much. I'm like, too
much. I didn't think you were going to go there.
All I did was I touched the wound. I didn't actually dig in. We can dig in if you like. Here's the thing. The reason why is because I understand human behavior, developmental psychology, understanding what happened when. If you understand that between 0 and 7, it's the imprinting phase. Then you have the socialization phase. Then you have so you've got these different phases. You have the what was it? It's the imprinting, modeling, socialization, and business personas. You have different phases where you're learning and developing in different ways. Attachment style, understanding anxious, avoidant, secure. How does that develop? What is your childhood experience that leads to those kinds of developments as far as understanding attachment? Polarity, masculine, feminine. Not the stereotypical man and female, masculine, feminine, beat chest, like not that kind of stuff, but understanding the energies behind the feminine and creation and expansion, understanding the energies behind the masculine, intention, direction. It's being able to understand those different aspects, understanding. So DISC, 4 spectrums. When I wrote the Vital Spark assessment, I've got 150 spectrums I'm looking at. But the problem is that I can't teach it very well, because people can't process as much information as I do. They can, but not as well. It's a gift of mine. It's something that I'm naturally gifted at. But then when I gave it to the AI, the AI could keep up and take it further than I could, which was really cool. So what I've done is I've created a short 40-question assessment that dives into behavioral psychology to understand what is your attachment style. What is your polarity? What are your intrinsic motivators? What drives what you do? What is your personality? But I've categorized it into 9 types, but the 9 types don't matter because really what it's looking at is 150 spectrums behind those 9 types. And so when you get a report, a lot of assessments out there, what they do is they take like the D and they plug the D text in because you have a D. It's like, here's what a D is.
Yeah.
This report, we feed your results to the AI. And it writes a report based on the combination of people That's one of the reasons why I've always been able to read people better than most reports, is because the report doesn't look at the interference pattern. If you're a high D or a low D and a low C, I said that earlier, low D, low C, how does that show up versus a low D and a high C? Well, there's nothing showing the difference in that report. All it shows is the low D as its standalone and the high C as its standalone thing. This report takes all of these different aspects I've talked about, integrates it together, and writes a report for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
when I was able to take a look at my full Vital Spark report, I was like, holy shnikes. And I still haven't even read the entire thing. I've just kind of like done the whole, high I, high D, skim it real quick. I'm like, look.
The
Okay,
biggest thing
cool.
with the reports, the biggest thing with the report, you can skim through it. It goes through, it's got so much great information in there. But in the report, here's the two things that it gives you. It tells you what causes you to get triggered, emotionally dysregulated, what causes you to flip your lid, and how to get yourself back into an empowered state. There are 4 things that are required from a leadership perspective to lead yourself back into an empowered state. You need to feel seen, safe, accepted, and protected. And you need key strategies like a menu when you go to a restaurant. When you are flipped, how do I get myself back? Here are things to try in each of these categories to get myself back. Because when you're in an empowered state, you have logic, you have reason, you have the ability to step out of the situation and analyze it objectively, but you can't do that when you're triggered. And so what this report does is it says, here are the things to watch out for. When these things happen, you flip, and here's a way to get yourself back home.
Okay, so I know you have access to my report. So let's do this, because I did this with Shiraz as well, which was, if you hit one of my spots, let's talk about it. So I'm giving you time to pull my report, because I would love to hear you pull out what you, as the creator of this, feels is the most important for me to know. And I'm totally fine with us doing this in front of the audience. They can hear all the things, because now this is the train wreck that people can't take their eyes off of. They're like, ooh, I want to know this about Jennie. And then imagine if y'all knew this about you. Okay. So from that Vital Spark report, when you skim through mine, what are the things that you see that you believe are the most important things for me to know?
I think that when I skim down, I'm skipping the entire top of the report and just going to the triggers, because that's what I recommend people start with.
Okay.
For you, lack of creative freedom or overwhelming dependency. 2 things that are a challenge for you is when your creativity is stifled or people become too dependent upon you. Which, as a coach, you have a lot of people who need you, who rely on you, who depend upon you, which means that you've got all of these different demands, and the way that you manage that is going to help keep you regulated. So that means you have to set aside time for creativity. You have to set aside creation time where you can be you and be safe. But you also need to create tools and resources so that people aren't just dependent upon you. Hey, Jennie, what do? I get this all the time. Alex, tell me what he is. Alex, tell me what he is. Here's the tool. Go use this tool to figure out who he is. If you don't know, come ask me a question. So you developing those tools, classes like you've been doing, like those kinds of a thing are what allow people to become dependent upon, I don't know, a system as opposed to the leader, which is what they teach you in direct sales anyway. So you get to model that, because otherwise people will, just like in a direct sales industry, become dependent upon you as their coach. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, and this takes me back to when I was a substitute teacher back in my very early 20s, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I went and did substitute teaching to make money while I figured it out. And I learned after one day of being a kindergarten sub, nope, no. Because back then I was not married. So I was Miss McCarthy back then. Miss McCarthy did not want to be around kindergarten, first or second graders. I told the sub caller, because this was back in the day before computers did all the calls. I called her up and I said, and I can't remember her name, but I can see her face. And I said, if it's under 3rd grade, don't call. The answer is no. Oh. Because I had, a class full of 20 kindergartners, and 8 of them wanted my attention at the same time. And my brain just went, nope. So I figured that out real quick.
Here's the other thing, specifically with the clients that you take on.
Mm-hmm.
You have so avoiding necessary confrontation disrupts your harmony, and excessive competition. Well, you can handle a competitive atmosphere. Overly competitive environments that value winning over teamwork or individual contribution can upset Jenny. And so putting yourself in a position where you get somebody who goes, here's the thing, I've got this other guy and I want to kick his ass and I just want to beat him and he's already got this stuff and I want to do that. There's going to be a gut reaction where it's kind of like, cool, let's do it. And like you got to take a breath. But here's the thing. His drive for competition is your drive for self-excellence. It is what he is using as fuel. And as long as you can reframe that, you won't have an issue with the people who are wanting to beat other people, because you'll see it as they're really using that as a tool for self-development. But you have to reframe that, because otherwise that creates a problem in your own atmosphere, because you're like, I don't really want to help you kill somebody. I want to help you be the best version of you.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but I don't really care about that. And you're like, in your mind, you have to go, byproduct of them doing this is they will be the best version. I'm going to focus on that. That'll allow me to ... That will let you work with more people without wanting to slap. Without wanting to slap them.
Well, yeah, I've never wanted to slap any of my clients. I can say that with 100% certainty, but I would say that there are certain personalities out there that I choose not to work with. And it's because I would want to slap them. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a great business model for me to grow more clients.
Well, and here's the thing, Jenny, out of almost every coach that I have worked with, your ability to adapt your communication, connect with your clients, help them figure out what's right for them and get results is by far leaps and bounds above almost every coach that I've worked with. Now, and I am a trainer of coaches. I've worked with coaches across the country, around the world. I've helped develop coaching programs. I've helped put together. I've worked with Success Magazine or Success coaches, Tony Robbins coaches, Cheplet coaches. Like, I've worked with a bunch of coaches. And Jenny, like, your ability to go, I see you and I know what you need is incredible. And the biggest piece of that is, and what I'm pointing out in this conversation is sometimes it's neglecting a little bit of you.
Oh, stop calling me out in public, except I asked for it. So I'll take it.
You asked for it.
I did ask for it. I did. No, that's true. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying those things you said. I appreciate that. And
anytime you need me to tell you you're neglecting taking care of yourself because you take care of your clients, I'm happy to do that as a subtle reminder. I love you, Jenny. It's important.
Thank you. No, I'm trying to get better. That is an area in which I'm trying to make sure that I am focusing on, because one of the things that I pulled out from when I read Infinite Giving by Dr. Meisner, one of the things that I pulled out from that was, you know, stop giving from your cup and give from your saucer. And I was like, oh, that's really, a bunch of people just had an aha moment. Oh, I felt it. Oh, they're still having it. Oh, that's so freaking cool. Okay. Apparently other people need to hear that. Stop giving from your cup and give from your saucer. So what is it that you have in abundance? What is it that you're able to give without resentment and without feeling taken from, right? And that's something that I'm still not trying to figure out, but navigate
it's something you've been helping me with. It's something that you've been helping me with, because I give the same way.
Yeah.
So it's something like I have seen your growth, and it's been inspiring to me to be able to draw some of those boundaries, to be able to protect myself. So, but when you look at this again, next piece is, okay, so those are some of the things that trigger you. So then in here, what are some of the things that help you get back on track? Find opportunities to lead that align with your strengths, in particularly those requiring creative problem solving. Celebrate your achievements in team settings and do it publicly. Connect with people who can celebrate your wins. Don't celebrate them by yourself. Reach out to your friends and say, hey, but get a circle of people who can help you celebrate those wins. So when you're feeling like, what I'm doing, why am I doing this? You need that recognition. So you need to find people to help give that to you. That recognition helps. So doing stuff on social media, posting your celebrations, connecting with your friends who go, oh my God, way to go, Jenny, woo! Like those kinds of things will help you when you're starting to shut down because you don't feel seen. When you don't feel safe, you're wondering, okay, so what is the next step? How am I going to do this? I don't know. Be able to find support. So make sure that you have autonomy in what you're doing. find things that you have direct control over. Focus on those because that will help find that safety back in there. Shifting your attention from the things that are out of your control to the things that are in works particularly well for you. It works for everybody, but it works particularly well for you because of that autonomy and wanting to make sure that you have that creative expression. Don't get too stuck in the system. Let it be a framework, not a step-by-step. It's not a procedure, it's a framework.
Yeah.
That will help you tremendously feel safe. Accepted. Again, when conflicts arise, come up with resolutions, find ways, and give people a chance to let you know it's okay and let them know how you're feeling. Express those feelings so they can be validated and also express them internally. That will help you feel that acceptance. You need to be able to give it to yourself, which you do really well at, but then you need to also seek it from people who you know will give it to you. So when you have something come up, reach out to people you trust to go, hey, they'll tell you what it is, but they're still going to love you, not what you did, but you, and give you that acceptance, protection. Make sure that you defend your rights to feel and experience what you're experiencing. It says this on the report. One of the things that's important is to not allow yourself to go, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I know better. This isn't how I should have ... You know what? You're free to feel whatever you feel, and we can do better next time. We can adjust it. This is how you responded. Totally cool. You need to create that protected space where how you feel is okay, because then you'll defend your rights to feel, your rights to express, but that unconsciously gives everybody else permission to do that too.
I like it. No, and this is so many pieces of this like make complete and utter sense to me because obviously it's my assessment, it's my thing, right? But it's, as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, especially like on the recognition side. So yeah, as a solopreneur, right? Even though yes, my web guy lives with me and is my fiance, etc., but I'm basically a solopreneur at this point in time. So when something big does happen, yeah, social media is where I go and put it to because it's not like I got a team sitting here that we can all celebrate and have a team part. Like if I had a team Christmas party, it'd be like me sitting around the Christmas tree with a glass of champagne by myself, right?
Right. It's not the same, and you don't get that feeling. You have to find ways to get that.
Yeah. And it's perfectly okay, people. I'm telling you right now, it's perfectly okay to toot your own horn.
Yes, and it's important to.
Yes.
So here's the piece. Now, what I just did was I read your report, I read little snippets, and then I gave you added words. I helped give you some guidance. I interpreted the report. Right. But the problem is that this is the next step was I wasn't available 24/7, and I'm expensive. It costs a lot to work with me one-on-one.
Yes.
And so it's one of those, okay, so, but for me, every dollar that has come in since I started my own business, 10% at least, has gone to scholarships to give people access when they can't afford it. So I've been giving scholarships. I've given hundreds of thousands of dollars away. That's not 10% of my income. That's a lot more than 10%. But I've given it away because people needed help. I was working with suicide, anxiety, PTSD, things that I didn't feel okay saying no to. And I shifted. And what happened was somebody asked me, can I interject personality into an AI? And I just said, I don't know, I'll try. That's how the assessment actually got created too. But what happened was I took the personality assessment and I married it with over 500 pages of how I see people, my own coaching body of knowledge and algorithms on how I evaluate. And I put them together and I created an AI consultant / life coach that is tailored for each individual person based on their personality assessment. So I just asked John Doe, I've got an assessment for John Doe. And I said, what makes me unique as a leader in direct sales and network marketing? And it says, you have a natural ability to energize and inspire others. Your enthusiasm is contagious, which is crucial in direct sales, where motivation and momentum are key. You also have an ability to think outside the box and find creative solutions to challenges. In an industry that constantly evolves, your ability to adapt and innovate keeps you and your team ahead of the curve. So when someone starts asking, okay, so how does this make me unique? Why should I sign with you? Ask the coach what makes me unique, and it can tell you. I'm really wanting to be able to sell my business. Here's something that's there. Can you tell me what makes this product unique? How can I sell that based on my personality? So you can ask it these questions. I'm struggling with motivation. What do I do? And it'll tell you what to do because it knows your personality. And so that it's $100 a month. It gives you 24/7 access. And the coolest thing is my hairdresser. So I go to Great Clips, very fancy hairdresser.
That's okay.
But I went there and she was talking and I told her about this thing and she went home. She signed up. I was shocked to see that she signed up. And when I went back to get my haircut the next time, what she said was, I was paying $150 to see a therapist once a month because that's all I could afford. And let me tell you, I haven't killed my husband this month. I'm like, okay. She says, no, 20, like I have kept asking this thing, what's going on? Why is he saying this? What do I need to do? How do I handle this? I've done it with my kids. I've done it with my clients. I've been able to give them advice while I'm sitting here in the chair. I pull up the phone, I type something and it tells me what to say. It's been the coolest thing. Because, and sorry if I'm getting a little emotional, but it's like, I finally made it accessible for people. People can get a coach. People can get somebody who understands them and goes, I see you. Here's how we go. Let's take this next step. Because for me, I was in therapy. I've dealt with doctors. I've dealt with medical stuff, and it didn't work.
Right.
And now I have something who knows who I am, and it allows me to be able to lean on that. And I've asked it questions. And what's really cool is I actually built my own coach because it gives me advice. And I'm like, oh, wow, it shocks me. So it's like the coolest married to be able to take personality assessment and put it in. And then that next level is I've got teams where I have the leader of the team and I take all of their team members' personalities and put it in. So I work in real estate and it says, hey, I've got a one-to-one with Sam. It goes, oh, if you're meeting with Sam, here's what you need to do. Hey, Sam's not motivated right now. What can I ask her leader do? It says, well, your natural tendency is this, but you need to show up this way for Sam. It's been the coolest thing to watch this thing actually take my place. It's so cool.
Well, and I think that's such a fantastic thing because, you said about halfway through the conversation, team leaders, the issue isn't your team, it's you, right? And so now what we're saying is, guess what? Get your team members to go take the Vital Spark assessment, get the report so that they can send it to you. And then if you have the Vital Spark AI coach version of Alex working with you, so you get access to the coach 24/7. You put in, June Smith's report, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, I have a call with June later today. We're going to be talking about how she can sponsor more people on her team. The coach is going to tell you what to say, how to do it in a way that works for you and June.
Based on your guys' personalities. It's the coolest thing. And what's fun is, so Jennie's being kind of humble, but she's also one of the very first Vital Spark consultants who's actually going through and doing all of the training with me, which is pretty cool. But there's a leadership summary report that she has access to. Not everyone does yet, but it's a specialized report that talks about motivation, what kind of work people should be doing, all sorts of stuff. And so it's kind of cool just to see how this thing has evolved because it's evolved out of application. A lot of things are built and then delivered to the market. This is people going, hey, I've got a question. I'm like, oh, here you go. And then it's like the question came up enough. We created reports based on it. And so next ones that are in the pipeline, we've got a relationship report coming in the pipeline, and we've got a couple other things coming down the road. So that's exciting.
So super cool. Because it makes sense because if you're going, people don't want to be coached in just one area. They're going to have these questions in a bunch of different areas until they fully better understand themselves and the people around them. But having AI that can process that information literally instantaneously. Anybody who's listening right now who has gone through and done anything in ChatGPT or whatever, right? At whatever AI they may be playing around in, you see how much more quickly it comes up with things that you're like, oh, I would have come up with that, but it would have taken me 10 days to do, versus 10 seconds, right? So to be able to have something that it already knows who you are based on the results of your assessment. And they know, and the thing knows as long as you have your spouse, your kids, your team members, whenever you say, hey, refer back to the report for Jennie Bellinger, I'm meeting with Jennie later today. What should we be talking about? Or how should I approach this issue that I have with Jennie? And now it tells you how to deal with Jennie.
It's incredible. It's priceless. And it has been so cool to be able to see people realize they're not broken and that there's just a slight change and everything's okay. And that's been so cool to watch that shift happen.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So what we've done to make this accessible to people. So just so you know, the Vital Spark assessment, there's no charge to take the assessment, correct?
Correct. The basic report, it's free.
Basic report is free. But then if you want the full shebang, like you just heard Alex read parts of mine, which you said you recommend people go to their triggers and their, ways to empower themselves?
Their needs, yeah, way to empower themselves.
Okay. So if you want to see all those pieces, then you do pay for the report. The report is what?
$27.
$27, y'all. $27. This is a no-brainer.
Accessible.
Yeah.
The thing is that for me, as a kid, nobody understood what I needed to be successful. And at this point, I've been able to navigate a lot of the childhood trauma, the things that I went through. But it's like, if somebody could just go, like for me to do homework, I got to have TV on, radio on, and I need to be sitting. I need more distractions, not less. They kept taking things away and I couldn't focus. I needed more things to occupy my brain so I could slow down. But I didn't know that. And like understanding the things that motivated me. Like for me, once I started doing the scholarships, money meant something because money didn't mean anything to me, but helping people did. So now all of a sudden I could go after money because the money meant scholarships and I could help more people. So, but these things I had to learn for myself, and now to have a tool, be able to help people realize there's nothing wrong. We just got to fix it. We got to do a few tweaks here and a few tweaks there in your environment, and everything will be good.
Yeah. I'm just saying, guys, that $27, if you're not going to invest that in yourself, just leave the business. Just leave now. Like go work a corporate 9 to 5, because if you can't invest or choose not to invest 27 in yourself to fully understand who you are, how you're showing up in the world, what's triggering you, what's causing issues, what you can do to make it better, right? This is the responsibility piece. Y'all, go do this. It's a no-brainer. So the way you're going to access it is you just go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com/vital spark. And of course, for those of you who already know the show, you know that link is in the show notes. For those of you, if this happens to be the very first episode that you've ever listened to, and you're sitting there going, show notes, what are those? Then what you're going to do is click on the episode, as long as you're not driving, scroll up under Alex's picture, and you'll see the link right there to be able to go take your Vital Spark assessment yourself and see what happens, right? So definitely recommend that. So
here's another piece, Jennie. For the first 25 people who go to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery website and uses your link, they're going to get a month free of the AI Coach tool. I'll build their coach for them for free, and they'll get a month of use, no cost, for the first 25 people who do it. I'll watch as those sales come in, as people go in and get their report. So if you're willing to invest the $27, I'll match you with a $97 value. I'll match it and up it. So what I'll do is I'll give you a coupon code that you can use to register for your coach. I'll build it for you for free. And then you'll be able to use that ongoing. If you don't like it, if you don't use it for the first month, cancel it. Doesn't cost you a thing. If you like it, keep it.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Put the $27 down. You get $127 worth of value, and you get complimentary coaching for a coach that is built for you. For you. Can I say it again? For you. I want this now. Like I'm gonna go buy that. No, just kidding. First 25. So go do this really quickly. Just go take the assessment. Do this. Do not hesitate on this because you don't know which number you are. So hurry up and get in there. Find out. Don't assume that just because we're a month later that you are not going to be able to do it. Do it. And then send a message to Alex and be like, hey, am I number 25? Ask him.
Actually, message me, even if you're not 25, if you're not on the first, message me. Hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Facebook, shoot me a message, and just ask. You'd be surprised what happens if you ask. I'm not going to commit to it, but you'd be surprised what happens if you ask.
Right. If you are a nice person who kindly reaches out, and number one, also, I'm going to put this out there. He won't, but I will. Thank him for the information, because I felt you shift. Like, and I'm speaking to you, the listener, you, the badass crew member. I felt you shift. I felt that energetic, like, yeah, I just felt it again, because all of you feel seen and you're like, oh my God. Like, I'm right here in the solar plexus. It's hitting right now. People are like, oh God. Reach out and thank Alex and say thank you, because I had a major aha moment, or I had my own, like realization of something, and see what happens. Because he's a pretty freaking awesome guy, or else I wouldn't have brought him on 3 times. Okay. Nobody else has been on 3 times, y'all. 3 out of 300 episodes, 3 times. You hold the record now, Alex. So
I am excited and honored. I always love having a conversation with you. We always have a good time, and nuggets are always there. So,
oh my gosh, yeah, we provide so much value for each other. It's not even funny, y'all. I wish I could keep talking to him forever, but I know you guys have things to do, including going and taking a Vital Spark assessment. And I know Alex has other things to do, other people he needs to go work with right now. So we're going to wrap this up. And of course, if you want to reach out to Alex, we do have his links to Facebook, Instagram, all the things are in the show notes, in addition to the link to take the Vital Spark assessment. So thank you again, Alex, for being here. You're awesome sauce.
Oh, Jennie, it is always a pleasure. And for all of those listening, you're in the right place. Jennie is an incredible leader, and she can't pay me enough to say that. I'm saying that from my heart, because with everybody that I have worked with, she is somebody who has consistently showed up in my life and has been a true friend and leader for me. And I love that. So, Jennie, thank you for having me on. Thank you for being here with me and giving me this opportunity to share and connect with your audience.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know we are going to change some lives with this. And I am so excited to see what happens. And I hope y'all will reach out and tell me what you're learning from Vital Spark, and tell me what you're getting from your first month of coaching with your personalized coach, y'all. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. So, Alex, you're awesome. And badass crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.